All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marilyn Strickland, and I'm the President and CEO of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, representing 2,400 members who employ 750,000 people. As you may guess, we have a very, very large stake in transportation and making sure that the next SDOT director is the right person. I also want to acknowledge my co-chair of the committee, Betty Spieth-Kroll, and to the other members of the committee for their hard work during this process. We're very proud to say that this committee included voices from business, labor, government, transportation, and environmental advocacy groups. It also included those with experience managing large transportation organizations. I also want to give a shout out by name to some folks who were very helpful here and on the committee. Rob Gannon of King County Metro, Paula Hammond, former Secretary of SDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, Jerry Poore of Port of Seattle, Alex Hudson of Transportation Choices Coalition, Richard Smith of the Cascade Bicycle Club, Sean Van Eyck of PTE Local 17, Barbara Wright, former Deputy Director of the Environmental Health of King County, Peter Rogoff of Sound Transit, Ron Judd of WSDOT, Rebecca Saldana, Nalima Shala of the Bullet Foundation. So we have exciting news to share today. Over the past 3 months, this committee met to identify the next director of the Seattle Department of Transportation. As a committee, we thought carefully about the elements of a functional and equitable transportation system that moves people and goods, transit, freight, bikes, cars, and the needs of pedestrians. We carefully considered the need for forward-thinking and accountable leadership, and the ability to lead both internally and externally at this critical time for the City of Seattle and really the entire region. There was a lot of interest in this position from across the United States, and after reviewing many resumes and an intensive interview process, we selected 3 finalists, including the mayor's nominee, who you will meet shortly. Across our various backgrounds, the search committee was enthusiastic about this nominee because of experience working in a growing and evolving region, his knowledge of the complexity of a multimodal transportation system, but most importantly, his ability to deliver projects. We are very pleased that he has accepted the mayor's offer, and we look forward to working with him for years to come. So now it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce Mayor Jenny Durkan to tell you more about the next director of the City of Seattle's Department of Transportation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn, for those words. Thanks to everybody on the committee for all the work you've done over the last several months. And I am very happy today to introduce to you Sam Zimbabwe, who will be the next director of the Seattle Department of Transportation. We're taking a really important step today on the next generation of transit for Seattle. We need to make sure that our transportation priorities and projects align with the city of the future, and we have to build a transportation network that builds that city of the future. That includes making sure that we deliver sound transit on time, on budget, hopefully early, to all of our neighborhoods. It means working with our partners, whether they be the Washington State Department of Transportation or King County Metro. It means increasing transit everywhere we can, building more bike lanes, and having more access for pedestrians. For decades, our region has been playing catch up on our transportation and transit needs. Seattle has grown so quickly, and our transit and transportation system just were not ready. As more public and private mega projects come on board during the next few years, transportation through and around Seattle is going to be incredibly challenging. During this new era, we need to create more safe, efficient, and well-connected transportation choices that make it easier and safer for residents to get around on foot, by bike, by transit, and we need to do it so they can do it for decades to come. That's why early on in my term, and following the departure of the previous director, we oversaw an extensive review of the Seattle Department of Transportation to reshape it, to look how we could deliver projects better and on time and on budget. The team at SDOT has done incredible work. And I want to thank the folks at SDOT for all the work they have done since I've been elected mayor. They have been working tirelessly to keep up with this growing city, to make sure that our roads worked, that our bikes and pedestrians could travel safely, and to build for that future. We know that it was clear that we needed to understand better the challenges at the Seattle Department of Transportation. And we don't deny that there were significant challenges. We do some things really, really well at the Seattle Department of Transportation, but we had taken on some big capital projects like the streetcar and Move Seattle, where planning and budgeting for those projects is not what should have occurred. The insights that we've learned during this review and the restructuring we've done got this department ready for its next leader, and I'm thrilled that Sam Zimbabwe has agreed to be that next leader. We needed someone with a bold vision for transportation in Seattle, someone who had worked across all modes of transportation and proven that he knows what a growing city needs and how we build that urban environment of the future. Someone who's had experience delivering big projects on time and on budget. I think we found that leader in Sam Zimbabwe. He is the right person to help Seattle move forward. Sam is a highly respected expert in transportation, planning, traffic engineering, and big capital projects. His current role in Washington, D.C. as the district's Chief Project Delivery Officer, remember those words, Chief Project Delivery Officer, and his years of experience in planning, policy, and urban design show that he has that rare combination of both hands-on ability to get big projects done and the ability to envision what our city should look like for the future and what we need to do to get there. We've got a lot of really big, important projects coming online, and I am really confident that Sam is the person who can deliver those investments for all of the city of Seattle. I want to thank and acknowledge my committee that did this. One reason we were able to fill this position with such a highly qualified person is because of the diverse people who came together over the last several months to share their vision for Seattle and its transportation needs. Both business, labor, and community leaders. We had Metro, Port of Seattle, Cascade Bicycle Club, all those people interested in what the future of Seattle's transportation should look like, not just for today, but over the next decade, around the table, really talking about what that vision is. I really want to thank also my co-chairs, Marilyn Strickland, who you heard from, and Betty Spythe-Kroll, for all the work you did. When people agree to be chairs, sometimes they're not quite aware of how much work it's really going to be, and they have worked really hard over the last 3 months. I also want to thank Linnea Laird for stepping up to serve in the role as interim director. She's done a very good job not only keeping the trains running, but making necessary changes within the Seattle Department of Transportation so that when our new leader came on board, it would be ready to go. Linnea has also been instrumental in our planning for the period of maximum constraint, both when the viaduct comes down and for the years, yes, the years, in which the buses come out of the tunnel and are on our streets. I know that when we go to City Council and when the SDOT team members get to know Sam, as I've been able to do, that they will think that actually Sam is from Seattle. I'm very confident we'll have a smooth transition, and with that now, I'd like to introduce you to Sam Zimbabwe, the next Director of Seattle Department of Transportation.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Durkan and members of the search committee. Thank you for the chance to stand here today and the opportunity to lead the Seattle Department of Transportation. I'm truly honored to be nominated by Mayor Durkan and considered by the City Council for this important role. I think no other city across the country has the type of trajectory and challenges that Seattle is facing right now. It's truly an exciting place to work, and then beyond just the transportation environment, I think a great place to raise a family. So I look forward to hitting the ground running as soon as I can. Seattle and SDOT face, the mayor just went through them all, but a range of different challenges. There is everything from delivering on the basics, the day-to-day work that the agency does, to delivering these projects that will set the trajectory of the city for the next 100 years. I know that we will need to continue to deliver more safe options for walking, biking, people taking transit, and how we respond to the unprecedented growth that the city has seen in the last several years. I come from a place, Washington, D.C., where we've experienced a similar set of growth challenges and trajectories. We've had some of the same challenges of meeting the day-to-day needs of a citizenry while the city is literally under construction. It's something that I relish and something that I really look forward to.
Relish.
Relish. I do. That's the exciting part to me of this world. You'll come to find that I have an open and collaborative leadership style. I look forward. This is a remarkable search committee. I look forward to working with each and every one of them as we build out the city. During my time in my last 7 years with the District Department of Transportation, we've faced some of these same challenges, some debates about individual projects, some challenges with unplanned special events where our metro system shut down for weeks at a time. And we've managed to get through it, and that's built on relationships, that's built on trust, and that's built on preparedness for those types of things. I've long looked to SDOT and the staff, the tremendous staff there, in how the city has managed to create a range of transportation options already for the city. So it's really building on the foundation that is out there. I look forward in the coming weeks to sitting down with members of the city council, the SDOT team, Seattle residents, businesses, everybody in this region as I learn about the place, as I become a Seattleite, as I explain my vision and hear everybody here's vision about where we go together around transportation. And if confirmed, I would be more than honored to serve in one of the most exciting cities anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's any questions, Mr. Connolly.
Listening to all this upbeat talk, I keep
You hate
back-
upbeat, don't you?
But I keep thinking of the upbeat workshops that I attended for the Move Seattle Transportation Plan and all that was being promised to the voters who were being asked to approve a $930 million outlay. Both a general and specific question, have you done and what will you do to restore the credibility of those promises, since several of those things that were being touted at those workshops have not been done and will not be done?
So, really good question, and I think Sam and I talked about this too, on the importance of restoring credibility. The first thing you have to do is admit you got it wrong. You know, the previous administration, when we promised these projects, we couldn't deliver them. And we had to go back when I came in and we did an assessment. It was for a range of reasons. Things have gotten more expensive in Seattle. The estimations were more difficult. Contractors were harder to come by. And some of the project planning just wasn't realistic. So we squared with the public and said, we don't have the money to build all those projects. But what we will do is go back to each one of the boards that oversees portions of those projects and have them help us prioritize. Given this is how much money we have, where are those priorities? We released that plan. We're still getting feedback because these plans are always iterative. But the next thing we're going to have to do is, under Sam's leadership and working together with our partners who you see standing up here today, we got to start getting those projects done. That's how you restore trust. And I think the other thing that's really important is the people standing behind me is an important part of restoring the trust. Because nothing that the Seattle Department of Transportation will do in this city, whether it's period of maximum constraint or whether it's projects, will they do in isolation. We have to have partnerships. We have to have them with the port, with Sound Transit, with WashDOT, with our business, with labor, with community activists, with people who are in transit advocates, bike advocates. We all have to be together moving forward. And that's what you see behind me. That's the other way we restore trust.
Sam, you talked about your vision, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. My name is Erica Barnett, by the way. And I guess, Mayor Durkan, I'd also like to know from you how much autonomy you're going to give the SDOT director in implementing what he sees as his vision.
Do you want me to answer first or him to answer first? So we have to have a unified vision for the city working together, and I've had some great conversations with Sam already, and we'll be looking for those, but really the vision is more than just any mayor's vision. It's a vision that is a conglomeration of what this community has spoken that it wants, and then what we know we need. And so the vision we have to have is one that in the city of the future, we have the best, most robust transit system of anywhere in the country. that around each one of those transit centers is the new hub for community. And if you do transit-oriented development right, you will have all kinds of housing, you'll have small commercial spaces, you'll have plazas with restaurants and bars. People will be able to walk to where they want to get, they can be able to bike. And so we are going to be in a very difficult time for a period of years in Seattle as Seattle is under construction. But when we come out of that, we want to be that city where people can get through easily, where people are not in their cars, where they can bike, where they can bike. In the meantime, we've got to build that. So it's going to be phased in. We know that Sound Transit is going to take a little bit of time to deliver, but I can't wait to ride on it. We know that we're in the process right now of figuring out what the alignments are going to be for West Seattle, for Ballard, for Chinatown International District. All of those decisions have to be made in collaboration with community, with the city council, and with the partners behind me.
So I'll only add on to that, my vision is for a safe, equitable, multimodal transportation system, and that's very top line. That's very, that sounds a little bit idealistic, but I think it comes from, we have to build out the infrastructure that supports choices for people of all ages, all abilities, build out a network that supports walking, biking, and taking transit as choices for everybody. When I've worked throughout my career, when I talk to people about what they want to see from their transportation system, it's transportation choices and reliability in those choices. And that's really where I think SDOT will need to help deliver that, those choices, and in a way that people can really plan their day around it. When people feel forced into various things, various modes, I think we create more tension than a common vision. I don't think the overall vision, as I've come to know the region, as I've talked to stakeholders so far, I don't think we have these wildly divergent visions. I think it's really about how do we implement what the mayor was just talking about.
Yeah, and I'd add to that is it's really important that, transportation is the backbone of equity. And unless you have an open and fair transportation system, you can't build that equitable city that we all want to have.
I would ask two questions, if you don't mind, of Mr. Zimbabwe. One is, I wonder what some of you would consider your biggest successes are in your past 7 years working in DC. And number two is, I assume you've done some research into Seattle's transportation system over the last few years. Do you see the kind of the vision you just outlined being a change in any way from what we've been doing?
Yeah, so in terms of what I've been able to accomplish in the last 7 years, I think there's a range of different things. I could probably bore you for hours with what I think of, but a lot of them are kind of boring. Some of them are internal to the agency. We've managed to cut the time it takes us to move from a project from planning into design and construction. We've managed to get some projects that were long stuck for a variety of means unstuck and are now at the point of being built. And those are everything from the $10 million streetscape project to trail connections that just hadn't been completed. We've got our largest project in the history of the department underway right now. It's a $450 million design build project for a new bridge across the Anacostia River. We got our streetcar which has its own challenges operational, and we've been operating safely for the last 3 years. There's a lot of things that I can point to. When I look, and I've had discussions with SDOT colleagues over the years about what this region has managed to do in terms of transit priority, in terms of parking management, in terms of bike infrastructure. All of the things are here to continue that momentum. And I know from afar that things have been that the SDOT has been able to achieve a lot of those things that we've looked to in DC, frankly, as we've tried to make more transit priority on our streets, that this region is doing better than we've been able to do.
Mr. Zimbabwe, the mayor here has taken a lot of heat from some transit advocates over pausing the First Avenue streetcar, and we don't yet know.
She has?
Does that give you pause to taking this job?
Well, so, we've, as I said before, we've had our own streetcar challenges, and I think a lot of that comes from making sure that we have the right infrastructure and the right plans in place to be able to deliver on a system. I think streetcar has been very useful in the District of Columbia, but it's a transit mode that has context to it, and that's one place where I feel like I need to understand what some of the what's been going on and be able to provide my input and my outside guidance as well.
How do you get to work, or at your last job, the job before that?
I'm a multimodal kind of guy. I'm lucky to live within about a half a mile of a subway station, so most days I ride the train to work. I also have about a 25-minute bike ride to work, and so a couple days a week I'll ride my bike to work. I have a family that has its own needs, and so every once in a while I'll drive my car to work, and then I curse DDOT sometimes for our traffic management. No, the District of Columbia, like Seattle, is a multimodal city. It's a place where you have choices, and I've been lucky enough to integrate those choices into my daily life as well.
And have you spoken with Mr. Rogoff about the relationship between SDOT and Sound Transit and what you imagine that looking like?
Yeah, I think that that I see SDOT and the regional transit partners as really being partners in managing the build out of future lines, but also how we manage the existing system. And that is, Rob and Peter and I will have to work hard together on how we do that jointly.
Mayor Durkan, what is the status of the streetcar project right now?
So the status of the streetcar project right now, it's actually one reason why Sam's standing here is I wanted someone who had streetcar experience. We are close to having the engineering and all that completed and reviewed. As you know, the city council passed a resolution requiring a report to them that we have to go back to. So we will have something soon, and I want to get the benefit of Sam's experience on looking at that.
Decision of whether to go forward with the project.
It's actually more complex than that, so we've tried to make sure that we preserved our options. So for example, we have been continuing to work with our federal partners to make sure that we did not lose the potential for federal funding, and got good news a couple weeks ago that that's been maintained in the grants. Now we have to do more to make sure we get those grants, but so we are right now making sure that if we decide to go forward, it will be after significant community engagement, and also because the resolution the council passed, we got to go back to council.
I'm curious about the timeline here. Is there any chance you could be in place before the viaduct closure? We've got a big challenge coming up in transportation.
Yeah, I asked the same question. So the good news on this is, number one is we've been planning very hard internally, and Heather Marks, as you know, has taken over. It's not just SDOT. We have almost 20 of our departments involved in planning for the viaduct closure, everything from the fire department to SPU to water. And so we have set up a command center that will every day have reports in the morning. We have live mapping. Sam has graciously agreed that while he's got to have this transition period because he has a real job that we stole him from, that he will be out here in January to participate in media briefings and help on the planning, and is going to stay involved. So I will say, he said he's going to hit the ground running, but my son told me that in Mythbuster says you don't hit the ground running, you just hit the ground. We're going to try to make sure that's not the case for him.
Does it give you pause to not have a local person nominated to this position, somebody who will have to learn how to become a Seattleite?
No. I think that I think we wanted the best person for the job, a person who'd proven themselves in a growing urban area, who faced some of the similar challenges we're facing here, and who understand the range of stakeholders we have involved. I also think that now that we've done our review and have restructured a lot of the personnel, we've got a pretty good bench right now at SDOT that's going to be there to support him. And they know the community, they know the stakeholders, and the people standing behind us are those stakeholders as well. And they have committed to me as mayor and committed to him that they are in this for the long haul. Every one of the search committee members said they would stand with him and continue to serve in an advisory capacity and support the Seattle Department of Transportation moving forward as we face these challenges. So we don't underestimate the challenges, but I'm confident that Sam can step into the job.
Can you talk a
Is there
little
a
bit
hopeful
about
start date? I mean, I might have missed it. Is there a date where you'd like to start by?
It's going to be probably that second week of January, the official date, but he'll be out here in early January to do the, media briefings and prepare for the viaduct closure.
Can you talk a little bit about how you have dealt with mode conflicts beyond just transit? I mean, there's bike issues here, and there's, bike lanes are extremely controversial right now, and, we're talking about scooters maybe. Mayor Durkan, and...
Do you want to ask me about scooters?
No.
Oh, come on, I got breaking news I could tell you, but no, you're not asking.
If you have breaking news on scooters, well, I would love to hear it, but I'm just curious, what experience have you had, and how have you dealt with those mode conflicts in DC, which I know has a lot of the same issues?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of the same dynamics. I think it comes from I've tried to approach it in DC by working with communities and advocates and trying to understand where concerns are. We've often been able to overcome those by considering different options and showing people the trade-offs of different choices. But sometimes it's taken the department to be sort of a humble listener to communities about how to best integrate new infrastructure into the daily workings of a community. And I think that has it really is a case of the agency and the community and stakeholders all coming together and listening and weighing different trade-offs.
Have you heard of the Seattle process?
And I'm still here.
3 months of search.
On the bike question, there are some people in Seattle who say just Seattle will never be a bike city. It's got hills and rain. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer for that. That's a question that I think is about the users of the transportation system, not the leaders. I do think that what I've found in DC is as more people feel like they feel safe and comfortable in taking care of some of their daily needs with a bike, the less divisive the bike questions have become. And so infrastructure is an enabler of that, but there's a lot of different types of enablers of that. Bike sharing has been important for us. Thinking about how people are not either bicyclists or not bicyclists, but are sometimes bicyclists or know somebody who's a bicyclist or something like that helps dissolve some of those tensions, as does engagement around what people's concerns are. So, I would never say it's never going to be a bike city.
I think it is a bike city.
Yeah. It's already
I
gold.
bike.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who does it. I got 3 bikes.
Last question, guys.
There are scooters in DC. Are you going to be able to convince your new boss to allow them here?
So Linnea Laird just recently sent a letter to the scooter companies because, as you know, there's been in numerous cities reports of a number of accidents, and the business model is such that the scooter companies require every rider to release the scooter company for any damages, and they do not protect the cities who are then being sued with increasing frequency. So she sent a letter to the scooter companies asking if they would share all the data they had about how many accidents and injuries have been involved in their scooters that they are using, whether they would agree to indemnify the city for any damages, because as you know, any one lawsuit with these particularly traumatic head injuries can be millions of dollars. And then also whether they would agree that the riders would have some ability to have recourse against the scooter companies and not have to sign a blank waiver.
Total indemnification in any city? I mean, even if I'm riding my bike down the street and I bought a bike from some company, I can sue the city if the sidewalk is, or if the street is faulty.
It's your bike, though. When you're a city and you give someone the license to have bikes available on city property, you by the operation of law are responsible for what happens then, and that's why cities have been brought in. So it's not just if they hit a pothole, it's if they get injured at all. It's that the city itself is providing those scooters and is partially liable. So a lot of those cases haven't been resolved. Some have been resolved by settlements that are significant. So the question is whether they're willing to do that. So we'll see if they will.
Are you asking for a different standard on the scooters than on for instance, the bikes that shares that are already out there?
We are asking the scooter companies to provide that information. There's no indication from our review of this city or others that there's been a significant increase in injuries because of dockless bikes, but it's something we're actually looking at carefully. So, all right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.